Welcome to WO50 Podcast, Women Over 50 in Body Wisdom and Wellness.
My name is Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF of many years, Eddi. And today's topic is navigating life's flow, the illusion of planning and control. It was a good conversation. This is one of my favorite topics, actually, is, we talked about how the difference between, Eddi gave some sailing analogies because she's a sailor.
Yeah. And you really had some really beautiful, insightful things to share with people. It's a lot of really lovely coaching things. I was soaking it all in as you're talking. So,
oh, thank
really
you.
Good.
I love talking about it.
Yeah, it's important, and we could go, another hour on a whole other topic and call it the same thing, and it would take a whole other
same but different, as we say, right?
Yeah, we planned it to be one way, but it didn't go that way. Okay, it went this way. Okay, well, that's good. Let's roll with it. Yeah.
All right. Enjoy relinquishing control. Hello, Eddi.
Hello, Ken. How are you today? You look very bright and sparkly and shiny and nice.
Yeah. I got my hair done yesterday.
I know.
Day before yesterday. This is actually day 3 of my hairdo.
It's lovely.
Thanks.
Yep.
Got my color done, my roots done, and she gave me a nice blow dry.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And how was your week?
My weekend was full. My weekends are my busiest times. During the week is a little more quiet, although Mondays and Tuesdays are busy too. But because I help people out when they're free on the weekends a lot of times. So I'll be very busy with yoga, meditation, life coaching, calls, things like that. Yeah. And it's been cool here and very sunny, which I've really enjoyed.
Nice. We've got a lot of cloud. We've had a lot of cloud. We have some snow today.
Oh, fun.
Cloudy. Yeah. So we're ready for some sunshine. We need sunshine up here in Newfoundland.
Oh, I'm so excited to see some snow.
Yeah. I wish you could plan for the sun to come out. Like tomorrow there will be sun. It's up there. It's just behind all the clouds, right?
Exactly. It is up there.
Yeah.
And you can still get a sunburn through the clouds. So it is up there.
Could. Yeah. You just got to go through the snow and the layers of cloud. And yeah.
Oh, so I had an epiphany. I think it was last week. And I kind of wrote a couple paragraphs, and I sent it to you because I was kind of thinking about, the title of our episode today is Navigating Life's Flow, the Illusion of Planning and Control. And, it's so interesting because I was thinking, when we're kids, we're always, planning on, kind of concerned about our friends and what friend group we're in and homework and then then we're trying to decide what college to go to, and then if we're going to have a life partner and what job we're going to do, and we're constantly like looking at and planning and thinking that we are the architecture of our lives. But when you really think about it, most of the pivotal points that happen in your life are very happenstance. It's like kids, when you're a kid, you have no control where your parents live or what school you go to. And then the friends that you happen to meet there, a lot of times are lifelong friends, or the bullying that happens affects you as you get older. Hopefully you learn and grow and you become tougher, or, the opposite, you can go through some trauma with it. But, and then, your first boyfriend or your first kiss or your first girlfriend or whatever it is, whatever sex it is. Yeah. Is happens to be, where you're living at the time, and a lot of pivotal things. And then even though you feel like you're planning on what job to go to, it's like where you get accepted, you have no control over. So there's so much in life that is really, life is just happening
while you're making plans.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many people have, it's like they're gripping on to life with white knuckling it through life. And the visual that I love to give, it's actually an Adyashanti thing. One of my teachers is like, life is like jumping out of a plane, and without, so if you jump out of a plane was say for the first 5 minutes or whatever, when you don't, before you pull the cord. So say if you jump out of a plane, you can free fall and be fully relaxed and feel the wind in your hair, or you can grasp it at the air and just be like twisting and turning and be all stressed. And that's kind of how life is, because there is so much that's out of our control. Like any control we think we have is really an illusion, because the only control we have is what we decide to focus on. And that's kind of it.
Yep.
Really.
It's like it's navigating the twists and turns.
Yeah, it's about responding to what's happening in your life rather than controlling it and being the architect of your own life. Like even people that talk so much about manifesting, you know, their life. And it's just like, I've come to a point where it's more like, how can you respond in your life and listen in your life and, you know, navigate rather than that, like navigate, which means like looking at the signs and the stars and lining things up and listening and looking at everything rather than being like the architect of it. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you just said that, the stars and everything, it's like I'll reference sailing because, you know, I love to sail, and it's like you think you can get in a boat and you'll steer it, and you're going to steer it in one direction. That's not going to happen because the ocean is like life. It just keeps throwing stuff in different ways. And then you might have to turn the sail the other way. You might have to go north when you were going south. You have to redirect all the time.
Right.
But there's a plan. You get there. Like it's like having a vision. So, but it might not go as planned.
Right. Right. I remember Deepak said this before, when the internet was just coming out and before there were GPSs or iPhones or anything like that. Deepak was talking about how there's something called the internet that's coming out soon, and there's also something called a GPS that's coming out. And it's kind of like how our consciousness works. You'll put your address in this GPS and it'll be in a satellite view. So it'll have a bigger view so it can tell where you're going. So if you make a wrong turn or if there's road work, it can navigate you. All you have to do is put the address into where you want to go and it'll navigate. And that's how I explain, you know, how the universe or God energy, your intentions are, is you kind of think about where you want to go in life and you allow the universe to work out the details. And then that requires navigating, listening, looking at things, you know, and navigation. You know, what's the most important thing about navigating is the ability to be of course, and the ability to see that and redirect, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, again, with sailing, like the charts are there, right? You know, the charts are laid out. We know where certain shallow places or rocks are in the water, but a lot of times it can be overwhelming. So you can't even navigate.
Or
Sometimes
you,
you gotta, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, or you might hit the rocks and, you know, have to deal with that and get the boat patched up. You just
Hopefully
deal,
not.
you know,
Hopefully
well, but
not.
it can happen. That's why
Can
you have
happen.
boat repair places, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That
it.
in life you can break an arm like I did this past year, you know, that happens. And it's how resilience is really key too. I like the metaphor of trees, you know. There's no such thing as an alive tree that's healthy, that's not like flexible and able to flow. I mean, some trees have more flow than others, but you know, you look at a healthy tree and the branches, you know, they can flow easily. And so being resilient is about being able to go with the flow, not being rigid, not being set, being able to change course. So that's kind of
You
what we
imagine,
wanted. Go
can
ahead.
you imagine when the explorers like were navigating the seas and when we're going to all these uncharted territories and like and now we're, you know, a society where we think we know where everything is, but things keep changing, like volcanoes happen and there's underwater volcanic things happening. I mean, we one was even erupting under the water while we were there in Sicily. One was erupting over on the hill in Mount Etna, you know, and it changes the landscape but and you think you can plan and predict it, but you get a kind of ballpark figure on it, right? But
Yeah, no, but things
there's a
change no
lot of
matter
stuff out
how.
of our control. Yeah.
Right. And it's always interesting to me how, how marriage is such a big deal in our culture, and it's kind of breaking down now, I feel, for reason, because it's like marriage wasn't a thing several hundred years ago. They came about, it was first for land,
Mm.
and so it's a fairly new thing as far as how old humans are. And and it's like, I feel like a lot of people want to get married because they want to lock it in. They want to guarantee that they're going to have somebody there. I mean, there might be different reasons that people fall in love, of course, but I think with our parents' generation anyway, it was more of that's what you were supposed to do. And the young kids now, I see them mostly, they want to have children, and they want to have a family, and that's fine, but it doesn't guarantee it's going to be forever,
Mm.
and things, life happens, and life is changing. And yeah, the intention maybe is to be there. You want to commit when you get married. But, I mean, I had to go through that when I got divorced. I'm like, I feel like 10 years was an incredibly successful marriage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was just, that was our time together. So, and some people are depressed for years because they feel like they've failed. If they get a divorce, like that's a failure. What was that? I posted a saying that was so beautiful. Is like, marriage is no more of a achievement and a reward than divorce is a punishment
Yeah. Yeah.
or a
Well, it's
failure.
funny you say that because I ran into an old friend and I was going through a divorce. This is back some time ago. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, you went through you're going through a divorce." I'm like, "Oh well, yeah, no, I'm through it now, about a year." And she goes, "How long were you married?" And I said, "Oh well, almost 20 years." She goes, "Me too." She said, "So you had a failed marriage?" And I'm like, "No, I don't call that a failed marriage. I call that exceptional. That
Absolutely.
was not failed." People change, we grow in different ways, and sometimes we can do our personal growth better apart. It is refocusing back in on yourself.
Yeah. And
It's
what's
never
appropriate, like
forgetting.
yeah, sometimes people don't grow together and they grow apart. And a lot of times when I work with couples, it's like you're energetically, you've been together, even if it's only 5 years, or it doesn't matter how long, but you aren't able to make the changes that both of you would like the other one to make because your energetic pattern is so strong together. And
Mm,
so many times the partners both make the changes that they wanted the other ones to make. When they're apart, it's easier for them to do because they have this routine as a couple of how they are. Like, it takes a Herculean effort for us to shift places where we're stuck. So imagine a couple together that's
yeah.
stuck and they've got these ways of communicating. Like, I was talking
Mhm.
to a young person the other day that is married, and she felt like she couldn't even have a conversation with her husband about, I don't know, it was like the simplest thing. And
Mm,
I was like, well, if you can't communicate that, how are you ever going to be able to get through it? Like, you've got to shift and change things and look at things differently. And
yeah.
so we have this illusion of this comfort and this security in marriage, or in like a job, like a lawyer or a doctor, but you know that can fall apart as well. And
Yeah.
so there's really nothing in life that's guaranteed permanent. Like, if anything, we're guaranteed impermanence in everything. And that's what I really got. Deepak Chopra's Seven Spiritual Laws of Success, which is one of my favorite books of all time,
Mine too.
is so the law of uncertainty is like, the more comfortable you get with uncertainty, the more magic that'll happen in your life, because
Yeah.
life is by its very nature uncertain.
Yeah. I mean, look at the things that have happened in your life that were not predictable at all, and have been the best things ever. I mean, just think about when we first met in Nashville. Like, there's no planning that. Like, we know we've been friends many, many lifetimes, we think. But we end up being at the Bluebird at the well, your roommate was at the time I was there. And then she's like, "Oh, you got to meet this other Canadian. You guys are going to love each other. Oh my God, you're like sisters." And she, got us to meet, and boom, just like there's no planning for that. There is no, oh, I wish I met somebody who was a lot like me. And then who knows, maybe when we're 60, we'll be doing a podcast and gee, I must plan that, like
Such a good point.
let's each go through a divorce and, let's have some challenges in our life. We don't. It
And that
happens.
doesn't mean that you sit at home and wait for life to happen to you. That's
No,
not what it means. It
no.
means you go about your life and you do your life, that you do your life. And so there's this balance of plan. You can there's certain things that need planning. You're going to go on a vacation, you got to plan for it. You
Oh,
got to
yeah.
book your ticket, things like that. But we don't have to white knuckle it near as much as we think. Well, it's the opposite. We really shouldn't be white knuckling. We kind of lay out. One of my friends and I, we used to say that we used to sketch life. So we used to sketch plans because that's, you can erase it a little bit more easily. So what's that saying? Life is what happens when you're busy making plans. Did you say that at the
That's it.
beginning
Yeah.
already?
Yeah. We said that.
And that, how do you want to make God laugh is to tell him your plan, or tell her your plan.
Yeah. I remember, Satya, you and I had a list. I'd come down to visit and I'd have a list of things. And he would go, so what are you girls' plans today? And I'm like, oh, we're doing this and this and this and this. And he goes, you're so funny, so silly making plans.
It would be.
Because we would just make it to the restaurant and have lunch and talk. And then we'd come back. He goes, did you get everything on your list done? It's like, no, he said, silly plans.
So yeah, that was one thing. My ex-husband Satya, I mean, we're still very good friends, and there was many things I loved about him and still love about him. And on his business card, it says, life just happens by itself. Life happens by itself. And if you think about it, I mean, your hair grows by itself, your digestion happens by itself, but that doesn't mean you don't put any effort into, like, you still have to have efforting and buying food and eating it, or growing your food and preparing it and eating it. So you're still doing life, but it's more like you're responding to life and moving through life, responding rather than controlling. It's like all you have to do is look at a tree and how amazing it is. It grows from a seed all the way to an apple tree and then gives you apples. And it doesn't like do a lot of planning. It's just there responding to the weather and the drought and the rainfall and all. And we're just as much a part of nature as an apple tree. Our body is made up of the food that we eat, of all the apples and the oranges and the everything that we've ate in our lives. That's, and our skin cells shed and turn back into the ground. And we're constantly, I had this vision the other day. We're like mushrooms as humans. Because mushrooms are the transformation. Like they take something like a piece of wood and they help not disintegrate, but transform the wood into sawdust, into the soil. And then it recycles again. And that's exactly what we do as humans. We eat the food and it turns into our bodies, our cells, and then we shed it again, and we eliminate it somehow. And then that goes back into the earth and then becomes fertilizer for the soil. Like worm poop is the best fertilizer ever.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's funny. You just reminded me again. I had this little guy, and his mom's like, he all he eats is Cheerios. Like, he won't eat a fruit or a vegetable. And I'm like, well, kiddo, like, what's your passions? And he's like, well, I love the planet, and I just love the planet so much, and the stars and earth, and he was talking about nature. And I said, so how come you don't eat fruits and vegetables? And he said, because I just don't. I don't want to eat them. I said, but that's what you eat, fruits and vegetables. And then when you go back into the earth, when we're 100 or however long we get to live, don't you want to go back in as a fruit and a vegetable? And he goes, oh, yeah. I should eat more then. I was like, yeah.
And
now,
have you
that
seen
would
him?
probably freak another child out, but
Right. But you spoke his
he
language.
got it. Yeah, like it's really sweet. It's really sweet. Yeah. So we are what our organisms eat.
Yep, that's what you say. It's the microbiome in your body. You are what they crave.
Yep. And they honestly, they think they're in control in there. Really? They haven't heard this conversation. So yeah.
So life is about a balance between planning and letting go. It's a constant really allowing and and letting go and taking in again. It's like this regeneration that we talk about, that, you know, our bodies do it with the food that we eat and eliminate. The plants do it. It's like, it's the most natural thing in the world. And so we've got to learn how to be more like nature, be able to respond to it and go with the flow of it. Because, you know, that's what the Buddha meant when he said life is suffering. I was talking to a client about this the other day. It's like life is suffering. And she's like, oh yeah. And I said, well, but suffering is a choice. You know, pain is inevitable because we're biological beings. So we have physical pain, we have emotional pain because we're born and we die. Right. So that's going to, and all the pain in between. But the suffering is what happens when we're attached to, or with the mashed potato story that I've told about, which again is a Satya story. It's like you eat the mashed potatoes one time and you love them. Say you buy them at Whole Foods, and then you go try to pay for them every day, even though you've only eaten them once. Is a long story that I tell, that Satya used to tell about mashed potatoes. So it's like you have one traumatic event or one fight with your friend, but then you tell 25 people about it. So you keep reliving it over and over again. And so that's what you don't want to do, you know, is you want to be present and able to let go of things and respond to life, because there's always going to be something to respond to. And the more you can let go of a moment when it happens and not have a story about it, then you can respond appropriately in the next moment. And, you know, as humans, it's like we're constantly trying to hold on to the good moments. Like I remember years ago at the Chopra Center when Deepak Chopra's center was in La Jolla, and it was a magical time. We've all had these times in our life that is like an amazing decade or an amazing year where everything was flowing and everything was amazing, right? And that was kind of that time at the Chopra Center where Deepak was sort of at his height, and there was all those people that hung out together, and it was magical, and the Chopra Center was amazing in La Jolla. And then they moved out to La Costa, and I remember there's people that said, oh my gosh, I wish for the good old days. I'm like, yeah, but we can embrace where it is now. It's different, and it'll eventually, and even though you can't see that it'll ever be as good as it was before, you have a little tiny view like it that's like this, and the universe has a view that's like that. And if you open yourself up, that's what Deepak meant with the law of uncertainty. The more you can embrace uncertainty, the more magic you can have in your life. It's like traveling with a map and figuring out you're going to go from Nashville to New York in a drive, and you're going to go only this way to get there. Well, what happens when the road doesn't exist anymore and you've only mapped out one way to get there? And that's how in life, when we see something or when we're grasping about things, there's always going to be more opportunities when you open yourself up and you're listening and you're watching and you're patient and you're not pushing and you're not forcing. I mean, and these are the kind of things we want to practice on little things, like planning your meals for the week and going to the store, right? And being okay if you don't make it to the store one day, or being okay if they're out of the kind of potatoes that you want, or, you know, those, when you're okay with the little things, then when the big stuff comes up, because there's always going to be stuff in life that happens, that's the nature of being human, then it's easier to respond to the bigger things as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then sitting in, when the storm settles, sitting in gratitude for, wow, got through that. That's great. Savoring the moments and knowing a lot of times a lot of things will pass, right?
Yeah, when you're in something, that's so key, Eddi, is that when you're in something that's uncomfortable, that seems overwhelming, it will pass, because all things pass. And so will the amazing things too. They'll pass too. But we
it's like staying, whatever that is, hold tight to the middle. I know Robin Sharma, I've done some workshops with him over the years. He wrote the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. That's another one of my little favorite reads from years ago. And he said it's hard at first, it's messy in the middle, and it's glorious in the end.
Nice.
You know? And I pull that every now and again and layer it on different things, because life is very layered. And, our view of what happened when we were 10 or 30, it's different eyes we see it with when we're this age. And this is why when, people hold on to things from the past and are staying stuck, aren't moving forward. They're holding in that, like the potato story. Yeah.
The mashed
So,
potatoes. Yes. Paying
yeah,
for
it's
it
that.
over and over again and only eating them one time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everyone else has moved on and changed and shifted. And, when you said that, I thought of lots of people, and we all do. I'm sure anyone listening is thinking of lots of people. But we can only work on ourselves.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that noticing how other people do it well or don't do it well is just information for you, for yourself. But what we tend to do is judge other people because it's easier than looking at ourselves, right?
Mhm.
So I'm passionate about self inquiry, which is knowing yourself, which is knowing your habits, knowing your so-called weaknesses or the things you are challenged with, and looking at them and figuring out, why is this a challenge for me? Can I stand in the fire? And can I, and that's my passion. It's not everybody's passion. It's
No.
surprising to me how many people are okay with not being okay. And that is the thing. Like, you do have to be okay with not being okay, but while you're okay with not being okay, you can work on shifting things, right?
Mhm.
Shifting the way you look at things, like reframing things. Like for me, if like I live in Nashville, where it's 5 months out of the year, it's so hot that you can't go outside in the day, or you can't exercise in the day, or you can't go in the garden, right? So what
Mhm.
I do is I really enjoy my air conditioning inside. And
Mhm.
no, it's not ideal, but I have a little trampoline that I do, and I travel, and same with you for living in Newfoundland.
Mhm.
You've got your full spectrum lights, and you enjoy your snow sports, and you travel. And so if there's something, a circumstance that you don't enjoy in life, instead of complaining, reframe it. And like, wintertime is a time to be in a cave and have more nourishing. And you don't, there's a reason why you don't have enough more sunlight, because you don't really need as much sunlight, because you're in your cave more, you're going inward more. So looking at the way you do things, and the way you think about things, and because I don't ever want to dread anything.
No.
I mean, to me, that's not a happy way to live. So I work with people like that when we're going to go to India. When I used to take people to India, they'd be like, right when they sign up, they're dreading the 24-hour flight over to India. And I've got other friends that are like, I could never go there. I could never handle that long on a plane. And it's like, well, why? What? I mean, it's just a plane. It's just and I have my essential oils. I have my creams. I mean, yeah, after 16 hours on the plane, my body starts to be like, I need oxygen. I need liquid, and even though I'm drinking and it's not happy, but it's okay. I'm uncomfortable. I know I'm going to get sleep soon, and it'll be fine. And
Mhm.
so I tell people, your journey to India starts when you sign up, and you can, just don't dread it. Like, use it as part of your, use the discomfort as part of your, as your spiritual practice of being present, and accepting what is, and this too shall pass, kind of thing.
I remember preparing for India, and there was preparing. And again, when you say planning, there's no way you can plan for India. Okay, you can't plan for it because it is an assault to the senses. But I had no, I honest to goodness went with no expectations. Like I went, this is India. Okay. So, and me, I like being comfortable, and I like having my food, and I like, like we all do. We like to be able to get up out of the seat and walk around, but I don't know, when you make those long distance treks, or you go to a third world country, you got to lay down a lot of things that you've kind of been conditioned in putting into practice, and just try it. Even in, you don't have to go to India to do it. Like,
Oh,
do it.
your India is everywhere, but
It
you did do
is.
particularly well in India. I was concerned about you going to India, just because India is not an easy place.
No,
And
it's
um
not.
and and there's just, you're so clean. I mean, you're an amazing doctor, and
Well, I sanitize
you're
everything.
yeah, and India is not a clean place.
I washed hands and I had lots of scarves and you do the best with what you do. You just do the best
Yeah,
with what
you
you
did
have
amazing
available.
in India.
Yeah.
You really, really did. It was awesome. It was so
Yeah,
much fun traveling with you there.
I did. I really enjoyed India. I must say you were an amazing host, and I don't think I would do India without you. Like, because you and Satya really had, especially you had the layout of the land. You'd been there so many times. You knew the good places to eat. You knew some of the places we were going to stay. It wasn't 5 star, it was 2 or 3. And you made it work. There's issues in people's tissues, including my own coming out and up. And man, it was just handled day to day,
Yeah, you
minute to
just day to
minute,
day. Yeah,
minute to minute.
it's made me very resilient. One of the reasons I love living and going to India so much is because I was so attached to my comforts for so many years. Like you said, everybody enjoys their comforts, but I think particularly in North America,
Mhm.
we always have the temperature in the house, what we want, the way we want it, or in our car the way we want it. We have foods from all over the world. We're very attached to our comforts in North America.
Mm.
And I did not, because I know that the essence of what life is not comfortable. And so I love India, that has helped me to be resilient and to be able to be okay with discomfort. I still enjoy the hell out of comfort. You and I love spas and
Oh,
love being comfortable, but
yes.
I'm also incredibly resilient because of India.
Yes. Well, even when we do get to go to a spa or enjoy, you know, the luxuries, I so appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. It's never taken for granted,
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
And even with world events and things happening, like honestly, every day I offer up so much thanks for and gratitude for my life and any way I can help, I try with the different things from the corners of the world, what we live of this world. And yeah, it is minute to minute. And um the planning, like I love the saying, life is what happens when you're busy making plans.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. The key is what you just said is what is it that you just said? I just lost my
Just
train of
take
thought.
it minute
Is
to minute.
gratitude.
Gratitude,
Gratitude
be
is key,
thankful.
because
So
gratitude can only
simple.
happen in the present moment. Like the feeling, and it's very interesting because there was a difficult client I had years ago, and she thought that gratitude was very one dimensional. Like she didn't really get. She'd
Mm,
say, "Well, I only have a few things to be grateful for," because she didn't get that she could be grateful for the clean air.
yeah.
She thought she could
Food.
only be grateful for her son and her house. But you can be grateful for the food, for your car, for your fridge, for electricity, I mean, the list is actually endless
It's
that you can be
endless.
grateful for. And Oprah said it's the single, best practice that she ever did. It helps people get out of depression, helps
Mhm.
people get unstuck. I've given it as a prescription to many, many people.
Yes. I call
Um,
it a big dose of vitamin G. Vitamin
yes.
G, gratitude. We need D, A, B, C, D, E. We need lots of G. And that gratitude, as we are, facing another full, nice, beautiful year ahead, I'm full of gratitude. And it's that feeling in your heart, that warm, fuzzy feeling. And if you're having a hard day and you can't find anything to be grateful for, go visit someone sitting there with their hand out and hand them $5 or $20 and watch gratitude in action. And you walk
Not
away.
necessarily all the
I don't
time.
know. Not all the time, but this has happened when you don't. A random act of kindness can increase a moment of gratitude within yourself because you're you're you can't muster it up for yourself. Then just volunteer, do something.
I was going to say volunteering is a little, to go volunteer at a soup kitchen or a Habitat for Humanity. When you hand people money on the street, I just have never had a lot. I mean, sometimes there for sure is.
If it pulls at you,
Yeah.
not all the time, but
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, last Christmas I went home and I had cat scarf and mitts underneath the tree for my honey. And I walked over to the grocery store and there was a guy standing outside. It was freezing and he had no hat and mitts on. And I went home and I grabbed the present underneath the tree and I drove back to Sobeys. I said, he goes, "Did you get this for me?" I said, "Kind of, sort of, yeah. This is for you." And he ripped it open and he was so excited. And then I felt so good the rest of the day. Like even now, like even thinking about it, I just felt so good just doing it. And then when I told Strat, "I gave away your present," and he goes, "That's okay.
Yeah, he
okay."
would love that. He would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great story, Eddi. I don't know if you ever told me that. That's so
Yeah, I
awesome.
don't know, but I went right back. I hadn't even taken my groceries out of the car. I just went back because his poor little hands are so cold. And I didn't give him any money, but I gave him hat, mitts, and scarf. So he was
Yeah,
pretty
that's
happy.
a lot of time better going to get a coffee at Starbucks and giving them a coffee, something to keep their hands warm or something like that, rather than if you don't want to give them money.
Yeah.
And it was a prescription I still give to people that are struggling with depression and are focused. So, because not necessarily clinical depression where you can't get out of bed, but just sort of depression in the holidays or whatever that can come. My dad used to do this actually because he would get a little lonely on the holidays, and he used to go volunteer at the soup kitchen every year, and he had great stories, and I was always amazed that my dad would do that. And I was happy that he did it and he loved it. And I recommended it to a couple other people because when you're depressed, you can be a little bit self-absorbed, not on purpose by any stretch, but it just gets you out of yourself. It just gets you out of yourself, and then you're grateful for even more for what you have because you see what other people have to deal with. I think that's one of the reasons why we all love Christmas movies so much. It's like, because usually in the Christmas movies, there's something horrible happening somewhere, that somebody's lost their, husband in the war, or they've lost their mother to cancer, or that, all these Christmas movies, and then they find their love or their community in the end. And because we're in the middle of watching Christmas movies right now.
I know it's all happy. Like it's just feel good. It's feel good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is great, Eddi. That I liked our topic today, navigating life's flow. And I forgot that was in the title when we started to talk about all the navigation. You probably remembered because your memory's amazing. But then I look back at the title, Navigating Life's Flow, the Illusion of Planning and Control. I like that dive.
Yeah, just stay on that boat and hang on to the sails, and the ocean will calm down, and there will be, wind will go right back into the sails again.
It's not white knuckling it. You can white knuckle it if you want to.
Oh, I've white knuckled a few times. Oh,
yeah. For sure. That's why we can talk about it, because we have done it.
And I didn't plan on white knuckling it,
Right.
Like you say, you can jump out of the plane and take the breeze, but sometimes life dishes out white knuckling stuff. So again, it's moment to moment. We take it because
we're doing the best we can. Just remember that everybody's doing the best they can, but from where they are. Exactly. It's a good point. And the only thing we have control over is how we're doing and how we respond to things. And so, I hope you found something helpful in here. It's one of my favorite topics. So thank you for sharing this and for sharing, your wisdom on it too.
You too.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing.